afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here to talk to you about what NetSuite can bring to you in order to help you bridge the gap between what's the new normal now and how we were doing before the COVID and pandemic. All right. So let me just can you move on to the next slide, please? All right. So as I said, just to correct I'm actually now functioning as the delivery lead for the North America general business vertical. So I've been mostly my work is handling portfolios or different projects at the same time. Um, and that's and I've been with NetSuite officially just last year. All right. So this is just our safe harbor statement, forward-looking statements. Again, please note I won't go through the the statements itself, but just to highlight that any information, this slide the presentation I'll be doing is just for information purposes only, and given that it's forward-looking statements, please there are certain and uncertainties on this, and we're just not making sure that you understand what we are presenting here. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. Just to reiterate what the agenda is all about. So we're going to define what is when we say stock out, what does it refer to? Right? How do we define that? What are the negative effects of stockouts? How do we what are the causes of stockouts? So first we talk about what are the negative impact of that on your business, and then what are the causes, most common causes of stockouts, and then how do we overcome them? All right, and then at the end of that, we'll have some Q&A later on. All right, next slide, please. So let us define what is stock out or out of stock. Some in the industry, especially for distribution manufacturing, they might call it OOS. Um, it's actually an event wherein it causes inventory to be exhausted or depleted. That means you run out of inventory in your manufacturing floor, wherein it now has an impact in your delivery of producing the goods. It now has also an impact in your retail stores, wherein you don't have anything to sell. Right now, given the pandemic, everyone is going online. So how do we make sure that we when we sell our products online, and we will be able to deliver the products that was ordered, right? Those are the most common issues that we have right now. So next slide, please. All right. So what then are the negative effects of stockouts? Okay. And the impact of that. So there are two things that the stockouts impacts. One is consumer reaction that impacts your customer loyalty. Okay. So the impact here, nor what does the cost? What do I refer to as customer reaction? Just put in case like what the normal right now is the most common is buying online, right? You do have Lazada, Shopee, all most of the stores, food, restaurants are now present online. And when you buy, when you order your goods, especially for example, I'm a Lazada fanatic. So so when I look at the product and then I put it in the cart and I place an order on that, I'm expecting that the item that I ordered, it's the same one that I will get at the end of the day when once it's delivered. But then most of the time it is not. And sometimes you get an email message telling you that you are getting a refund because apparently the vendor was not able to deliver the goods at the schedule that Lazada requires. So with that instance, the main reaction of a consumer or a customer would be either there are two things. They either buy an alternative, right? And I want this particular item or this particular dress or this particular makeup, but it's not available. But then if it's not available, what do I do? For me, if I waited for 2 weeks and I get a net notice that it's a refund, sometimes I don't order anymore, right? I just don't react. I just accept the refund. But for some, when the product is broken, um, firstly I will get angry because it was broken. I paid for it. I can request for a refund, but then I wanted that item. So do I still order from Lazada? Of course not. I will find an alternative store wherein I can order an item that I'm sure can give me the item at the time that I needed, and it's in a pristine state, right? So there are two things. One is the item might be the customer, again, consumer can buy another, or they can buy a substitute. But bottom line is the most extreme would be the customer will not go back to your store or to your online site and buy from you. That means you get to lose two things: income or sales, right? So you miss the opportunity of increasing your sales for the day. You also miss the opportunity of knowing how that particular product will have a future impact to the target of sales that you are trying to reach. Another is it does impact your customer loyalty. If you are consistently not delivering the right products, definitely the customer will not go back to your site. So those are one of the things that I guess most of us, we don't deliver our promise. We always get the impact will always be loss of customers and loss of income. So the next impact would be, next slide, please. It's more on now on your retail repercussions. So what does this mean? It means now that it has an impact on your bottom line. You're expecting a particular number of sales for the month, right? Because you're targeting again, given the situation right now, there is a certain number that you would like to reach on a monthly basis because that will keep your operations afloat. If you keep losing sales, right, even if it's just a day, but then that in a day you can lose 100 customers because you don't have enough stock of that particular product. Unfortunately for you, the same item that I ordered was actually ordered 100 times more across the Philippines. But then you weren't able to deliver. You all get 100 people not satisfied with your service. So the reaction again, as I earlier said, people will not order again from your site, right? So again, missed opportunity. So meaning your daily sales will now go down. You won't be able to reach your bottom line target or your profit margin. And then the next is depleted um, profit margins. So anything that you were not able to sell or you were not able to receive payment from it means you impact your bottom line at the end of the day. So there are now instances wherein some stores will need to close because they're not able to sustain their operating margins. Okay, so those are the two major impacts of, again, these are just two, but these are the most major ones that really impacts the bottom line. Okay, next slide, please. So what then are the causes of stockouts? Okay, so one major one is you have an inefficient, inaccurate inventory management. So what does this mean? In a day-to-day basis, variances will always happen because people might be missing some steps. People might not be recording it properly, like especially if your people are already tired and they're not able to really see what item they're picking up or what item they were receiving. Tendency is instead of um, writing down one, they will write in zero, or the penmanship is not that well, then you might misread the information that they've given. So inaccuracy and inefficient way of handling your inventory in several places, right? One is on your warehouse itself. It starts with when the PO was sent to the supplier reads your PO. It was you inadvertently put in a wrong number, a wrong item code, or a wrong description. So then the impact of that supplier now sends you the wrong item. You weren't able, then since the PO was not changed, so your warehouse accepted the item, right? Then the warehouse delivers the item to the store without no one checking if the PO and what was received was actually the same. Then it was received in the store. Since it's the wrong item, the wrong size and all, they cannot deliver it or nobody wants to buy it. So that has an impact in a in a distribution network the inaccuracy that you have and inaccurate monitoring of your inventory. So failure to reorder as well in a timely manner or underestimating your demand. First thing that some of the retail stores or some of the distribution networks is in the ability to really plan out or know how much am I really selling on a daily basis, or how much are my expected sales. If especially for the pandemic right now, you will not be able to have visibility of what comes in, comes out, unless you do have a way of capturing that without using Excel, without using paper trail, right? There has to be a way that once the store or once the customer enters that in Lazada, the Lazada system will send that into your system. Okay, the order, retail orders, goes into your system, whatever system that is, as long as it's able to get that information to your supply chain. Supply chain, again, if they don't have a way of knowing how the movement of that item comes, because again, there were losses of sales, people are not buying enough, then the retail is not able to inform the back end that we're not selling that item at all. There are a lot of stocks in the retail store. So those are the things that has an impact on the demand planning. Okay, understanding how much do the store need, how much do I need to purchase or to produce so that I be able to just enough to make sure that the store is not storing inventory that they are not being sold. And of course, using the wrong lead time. This comes with identifying or really knowing our items. One of the major responsibility of a planner is knowing how the items moves on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, and on a yearly basis, because they need to know how much is sold and how frequently that is being delivered by the supplier. Okay, if the planner is not good at monitoring all of those movements, definitely the planning part that is doing will not work. It also has an impact on your safety stock. Inability to really monitor how much or knowing how your item moves from one warehouse to another or through your distribution center has an impact on what safety stock number is safe enough for me that I won't have overstock. I will have enough to deliver to the store. The store will have be able to sell out all those items that I have, and all of those information will need to come back to your planning team so that they don't do under ordering and you don't suffer from product quality issues, because that's also one of the major things that are happening right now. When you get a product, sometimes it's broken, sometimes it's the wrong product, sometimes it's been opened. So those are the quality issues that has an impact in your whole distribution network. And bottom line, losing sales has an impact on everything. Next slide. Okay. So this is the major one. Poor management of people, processes, and technology. In an organization, there's always three factors that needs to seamlessly work together. You need to have the right people in place. You need to be able. So how do you make sure that you have the right people in place? We'll talk to that about that later on. You need to have processes that aligns with your business objectives, right? So are my processes efficient enough that I don't do duplicates? That I have quality checks in between transfer of data from one group to another, being able to really have a strong monitoring processing of information that travels from one person into another person in your entire supply chain. And then of course you'd need to have the technology in place. There are already a lot of surprisingly, actually, given the COVID, one good thing about that is people are now recognizing that having the ability to access your information online does have an impact on your efficiencies, does have an impact in having that information right at your fingertips so that you can make decisions at the fly, right? Okay. Next, please. And then, of course, the most important is the maintaining quality relationships and communicating properly with your suppliers. Okay. So if you're, well, one of the things that's where the purchasing team comes in. They're really strong in establishing the perfect relationship with their vendors, right? Making sure that the vendor is able to deliver the goods that you wanted at the negotiated price, at the negotiated lead time. Okay. So, but then again, you're not the only one that that your supplier is servicing, right? So you need to make sure that you are able to pay at the time that you have agreed on. That will make sure that you won't have any delayed deliveries. Okay. And also to make sure that you avoid quality issues on that. Okay. So these are the most common stock issues. This is prevalent whether you're in distribution, retail, restaurants, um, malls, or even production, right? The production floors. They also have these issues on the fly. All right. Next slide, please. Okay, so given those items that I have mentioned earlier, what are the causes of that? If you notice, let's talk about how do we overcome those. So how do we overcome stockouts? Next slide, please. Okay, before we even go to what system, how do we deal with that? There is a framework when you go into analyzing what's wrong with your operations. It's not really wrong. It's not really putting down everyone is wrong. It's just that making sure that you do have the right framework in your organization that covers process improvement affecting the people that you have in place. Is your organization optimized already for the business goals objectives that you have right now given the COVID situation? The COVID definitely changed how we do our daily lives. It definitely will change how you operate your supply chain, making sure that how do you bring in your stocks from your warehouse or from your manufacturing floor, which is somewhere in probably Santa Rosa, or it's probably somewhere either in Laguna or either in Bulacan. How do you bring that into your store somewhere in Visayas or in the South, right? How do you bring that in the time that they need it to, right? And having the stores also have being able to make sure that the stocks that comes in, especially if it's food or any other items, needs to be properly disinfected, that you don't pass on the virus to other people, especially your customers. Because one thing that has, I think, one of the main causes as well, probably, that we need to have a lookout on or has an impact on our business, is to be able to make sure that that our customers, our employees, are also protected with a, and infecting them with a virus. Because once you have a customer that is infected, that definitely will have an impact on your store. How? It now means that you need to disinfect, you need to close the stores, you need to do contact tracing, and all of that. That means loss of sale for a day, worst case, several weeks, right? So that is one of the additional complications that we need to take into consideration when we look at how are we doing. Do we have enough? Do we have the construction of our business or operation it as themselves, or our framework? Are we built to be successful in this situation, the new normal as we'd like to call it? So again, having the right people, making sure, it doesn't mean that you need to fire everyone because you know that there are somewhere along the way there were some missteps and all. Doesn't mean you need to fire them. It just means that you need to equip them more, train them, make sure that they are properly trained on how to handle products, make sure that they know what your processes are, they know your goals, your objectives. Then of course you need to make sure that you do have the process to make sure that it meets or aligns with your or your business objectives. So what are these business objectives that we're looking at? So most of the time, top line, it always look at protecting the bottom line. When you say bottom line, after everything else has been paid for, I have enough cash to operate, or working capital to operate for the next months, right? because suppliers, depending on how long your items are being delivered to you, so somehow it takes a lot of money or working capital to really invest on making sure that your business survives. So having the right process, having the right or trained people in place helps you and making sure that they are aligned with your business objectives, which is keeping the bottom line afloat, having enough working capital to support your people and the processes that you have in place. And of course, you have the right technology to make sure that you are successful in these endeavors, right? Technology meaning it has making sure actually it's more of the technology as a tool that allows you to leverage on what's out there, what's new out there, helping you to be able to be mobile rather than stagnant on a specific place. Because right now, the more mobile you are, the more fluid you are in terms of where you can deliver, how you can deliver, is one of the best things that you can look at as a solution, as an initial solution on your logistic nightmare, right? So again, and all of these three needs to be aligned to make sure that you also consider how am I as a business, looking at improvements here and there, making sure that the three framework in my operations are aligned in terms of directives, objectives, and the bottom line objectives of the business. Okay. So with this framework, so in most cases, when I implement any ERP systems out there, one of the misconception of companies is that when you have a system, I don't need to evaluate my people. I don't need to make sure that my system is in place or correct. Um, there's no change management that I need to make sure of. But that is one of the key factors that implementation will be a success. You need to make sure that the people that you have are the right people in place, right? Meaning they're well trained. You have m- uh, mentioned to them or aligned with them that this is where the business is going and I need your help. So making sure that you also support your people, that they align with what you wanted to be in the future. And then you have the processes in place. You have made sure that it's an efficient process. It's not duplicate in every aspect. So once a data is being entered into the system, automatically it goes back to your plant or manufacturing or warehouses somewhere along in Valenzuela or Bulacan or La Union, wherever they are. But the information gets there at a matter of minutes, right? So having the right technology does have a big impact on the whole thing, but it's not the end all and be all. You need to make sure that all of these three works together to align with your business objectives. All right, next slide, please. So how do we do that? Okay, so as you can see here, NetSuite is actually a solution that is online, that's available through the net, and it's a complete solution. As you can see, the round wheel at the side, it shows the different solutions that NetSuite has. It does have the core solution or the core business. I don't actually call NetSuite as a solution. I call it as a platform. Okay, when you say a platform, that means you do have the core operations. It does have the solution that allows you to operate on a minimal level, but it also allows you to grow, right? Like for now, you just need to have your warehousing in place, your supply chain working together. Then you go with a core business. Then you might say, I wanted to have a warehouse management system in place, but my processes in warehouse is not that solid yet. I'm still fixing them up. Then don't do that. Go through the process of making sure that your core, meaning when you say core, your main supply chain, purchasing, sales, your inventory management team, your warehousing, your production, they're aligned in how things should go, how data is supposed to be entered, at what time, at what date, who needs to validate all that. So the information they get from the retail store down to them is an information that you can trust and you can work on, right? So what the solution that we have allows you is to utilize planning solutions and reordering tools that we already have in NetSuite. Okay, I'll be discussing that later on. Having this have NetSuite provides you with dashboards, information on the fly. When you once an information and entered an order, for example, comes in from the retail store, we do have a solution that is being used by our front end systems that connects directly. Once an order comes in, it goes into your NetSuite. That information creates reports in terms of how many items are being sold today at the dot. So once it's entered, you get that information at the moment that it's entered, right? Or as it happens. So sales will now be able to, or marketing will now be able to get all of those information as soon as as soon as an item is sold. The same time, retail will now be able to also monitor how much inventory do they have in the system. Again, on the fly, right? As soon as it's entered. Having the visibility of how your vendors are performing in terms of um, quality products that are quality products that are being delivered. Delivery dates are maintained. There's no late deliveries and all. They deliver the right item, so you have an ability to score your vendors, to properly manage them, making sure that they are also adhere to the qualities or the expectations that you want from them, because sometimes you do have to demand from your vendors the perfect solution or partner that you would need so that your business can grow. Monitoring and reporting of inventory. I said once an information is entered from the retail, right, from your front end or from your website, for example, a website, an order comes in from the website, it goes into NetSuite. NetSuite processes that information, but depending on how what your processes are. So normally that should go to your customer service representative. Make sure that automatically you get to have that representative will know if you have inventory or not. Then it goes to the next step. So you don't need to do entering of information again. It's just one entry. Protection of data is now in place. It's accurate because no one is touching that information. It came directly from the person, from your customer, and that information goes right up to your distribution or warehouse information. And this is, as I said, it's real time and it's integrated. You don't need to do an integration unless these are peripherals. You have an RFID or you have a barcode scanner that you want to use at the store end. Then that means you need to connect that to NetSuite so that whatever um, you scan, it goes directly into NetSuite as an input. Okay, those are just the things that needs integration and other systems that you might want to work with NetSuite, like payroll or other expense systems. So all of that can be integrated with NetSuite as well. All right. So the wheel that you see here starts from the center. So as basic as you can, it will be able to support your business at the get-go. And as you grow, you can just add other modules as it grow. And I said, it's a platform. You start small, you grow your business, make sure that you align with all your people, processes, and with the system or technologies that you invested in. Make sure that they're aligned. Make sure that it's solid. It's working well. It supports your business. Making sure that everything is in place. Then you grow with it. You add more websites. You add more, other solutions that you would want that will make your work efficient. Okay. So next slide, please. Now this is we mentioned earlier the framework works two ways, right? There's before you implement anything or you look into anything, the first thing that a company needs to do, or well, and it's an everyday thing that your management are doing at the moment, is really to look at your framework, right? Are you all those three working? So I've talked about the technology first because again, the technology can be a driver to make sure that your processes are you optimized or efficient, that you train your people as well in the new process or an improved process that you have decided on. Then the next thing is to make sure that the processes as well is aligned with how you want it to be, to help you to be more efficient in doing your things. So using the NetSuite Suite Success operations, we do have already what we call leading practices. So leading practices are predefined or pre-configured NetSuite solutions for a business, which is actually a collection of all. the best operation or processes that we've gathered from across hundreds of implementations that we've done. So we came up with a pre-configured solution that allows you to have reports, dashboards, in forms that you need to do your role. So in this slide that you see, it's actually a process flow that we have defined or we base our suite success in. So it does have its own processes in place depending on the role that you play in your organization. Okay, slide please. That's how the supply chain looks like. So let me just put in the solutions we have in place in NetSuite with the solutions we said to overcome the issues that we have on stockouts. So in terms of addressing reduction of lead time, accurate demand forecasting, optimum safety stocks, we do have solutions in place for that. One, there's a basic functionality in NetSuite which we call the reorder levels or the safety stock. You set this for every item, for every warehouse that you have. It's essentially making sure that you do have enough. The system will trigger you a reminder that the inventory you have in that particular warehouse is already way below the reorder levels. The reorder is meaning this is actually your danger zone. That means if your inventory for that particular item goes down at a certain level that is way below the reorder that you set. Reorder means you are now telling your purchasing team to order to replenish the stocks that you have in your warehouse. This is different from your safety stock. Safety stock normally in any store, if you are in a store, these are your safety level. These are your emergency levels, emergency stocks. Normally in any day you don't touch this because you only sell that once you run out of stocks of those that you consider as your operating stocks. Once you have run out of it and there were still some people wanting to buy, then you'd use that safety level inventory in your warehouse to use as you're selling. So that means the system will now suggest that you need to fill up your safety stock plus your reorder levels. Right? We do have also advanced inventory, which also means allowing you to keep track of serial numbers, your lots if you have some lots or expiry dates. Um, Allows you to properly monitor how much inventory you have on a per location basis or sub bins basis. Demand planning also allows you to set up some planning rules or supply rules. So it does have some ways that you need to define on a per item per warehouse basis, like how do you order your items? Is it in multiples of or lot for lot? Or do you order that on a based on economic or EOQ as we'd like to call them? So there are a lot of things that you can set in the in this using the functionality that I have identified here. What these three will do is it will do the calculations for you depending on the horizon that you're looking at, whether it's 12 months or so. And then it will just suggest to you some numbers that again you can either take it on and just create automatically a PO for that, or you need more studies or some calculations or some reports because you want to really make sure that the numbers that you have in the system is correct, right? And then another thing is automated monitoring and reporting inventory. This refers to when you say automated monitoring, that means you have systems in place to make sure that in your big warehouse you have the ability to capture information. You have the ability to capture, like when they take out items uh, 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 your warehouse itself. Sorry, um, you have to have a system that will allow you to record or allow you to move your items using just your RFID, right? Or if you don't have an RFID, at least a barcode system, right? And everywhere they are, you don't need to bring a laptop. It can be used using your tablets or even your phones, allowing you to be more fluid in terms of allowing you to go where your items are. Really look for that item and making sure that once you scan it, it goes directly to your system. A WMS, we do have a WMS system that allows that, but it can work with an RFID. it can work with a barcode system as well, right? Or a barcode scanner, sorry. And then making sure that you improve your vendor management. NetSuite has an inherent vendor solution or vendor performance reviews or data, because it does gives you information about your vendor in terms of late deliveries, accuracy of the items that they deliver, matching of the PO, the price of the PO against the bill that they sent to you, and all of those information, right? So that is already part and parcel of what you get as the core solution. And then communicate with your data, being able to have that information on the fly at your fingertips is what NetSuite is. It's a real-time integrated system that's also online, right? So next slide, please. What I'll be showing you, I won't be doing a demo, but just a view of what you can get when you have NetSuite. This is what a dashboard of a inventory manager role is. So he will have information on in terms of some reminders. So this on a day-to-day basis, he will now have some action items, items to order, items to receive, and all that. You also have KPIs, and this is online. This is also on the fly. So as soon as an information is entered somewhere along in your distribution or supply chain network, that key performance indicators, those reminders, and those other information that you see on your screen is updated automatically, right? So that alone is already a big efficiency, an improvement in making sure that data gets to the people that they have to know or to have that data. Okay, next slide. So the next slides actually just shows you the different dashboard based on the role that they have. So you have this is the dashboard of a supply chain, and these are all customizable. You can change, you can add, you can have graphs. So you can actually use this dashboard as a reporting facility when you do reports with your manager. You don't have to bring in or to create a report based on on every meeting. You don't have to do that. NetSuite already does that for you. And this is the same view that your manager will also look at. This is the same view that the CEO, CFO can also get at the right time, at the right moment. Okay, next slide. So the next few slides are actually just views of what's available in NetSuite. So these are some of the sample reports. Again, these reports are customizable. This shows you the profitability of your inventory. There are thousands of reports that you can get from NetSuite, and then you can also create your own reports. Next slide. Okay. What I did is to just come up with some of the videos available in YouTube that you can look at. Um, these are this will give you a view of what the solutions can do for you, how it works. There is a demo there on how WMS help their warehouse. It's a very good video. I'd like you can look at that. Also, some videos on how a supply chain manager dashboard looks like, what it can do. How about for an operations manager, and how about a controller?